Carlos Alcaraz has once again set off alarm bells. Just 2 days before his debut at the Rome Masters 1000, a single image has been enough to stir concern among tennis fans and experts. The Mercian appeared on court with a compression bandage on his right leg. Is he truly ready to compete again? What does this new physical sign mean just weeks before Roland Garros? Carlos Alcaraz continues his recovery process, but his latest training session in Rome has caused unease. This Wednesday, the world number 3 rallied with Alexander Zverev in an intense session, but what stood out the most was the presence of a compression bandage on his right leg, precisely in the adductor area that forced him to withdraw from the Mutua Madrid Open. Although the Mercian completed the training, the image did not go unnoticed. The bandage, a clear sign of caution, points to a recent injury that may not yet be fully healed. It all started in the final of the Conde de Godó tournament, where Alcaraz aggravated his right adductor. Although his first training sessions in Murcia and Alicante seemed to show favorable progress, this new protection reignites doubts about his physical condition. The appearance of the bandage does not necessarily mean he's injured again, but it does indicate that his team prefers not to take any risks, especially considering Roland Garros, his biggest goal of the year, starts in just 3 weeks. During training with Zverev, he looked active and moved well, although at several points he touched the bandaged area, perhaps to adjust the pressure or simply out of discomfort. These kinds of details are crucial in such a demanding sport as tennis, where physical sensations and confidence in one's body are as decisive as tactics. While the bandage may simply be a safety measure, it could also mean the player is not yet at 100%, and on clay, a surface that demands explosiveness and aggressive movement, every muscle counts. In the past, Alcaraz has played with similar bandages. In 2023, for instance, he wore a compression sleeve on his forearm due to discomfort in that area, which didn't stop him from delivering great performances. He himself admits in his Netflix documentary, My Way, that he doesn't cope well with playing through pain and needs to feel physically protected in order to perform at his best. That detail adds a psychological layer. The bandage is not only physical support but also an emotional one that gives him a sense of security on the court. Still, context must be kept in mind. Rome is an important tournament, yes, but not as important as Roland Garros. Alcaraz has never won at the Foro Italico, and his best result was reaching the third round in 2023, where he lost to Marozsan. Therefore, if there's a tournament where he can afford to be extra cautious with his body, it's this one. It wouldn't be surprising to see the Mercian manage every move carefully, or even withdraw if his body doesn't respond, to avoid jeopardizing his participation in Paris. Practicing against Zverev is no small feat. He's a top-level rival, champion in Rome in 2024, and a finalist at Roland Garros. It's a demanding test for a body coming back into action after weeks of inactivity. The truth is, Alcaraz needs match time, rhythm, and confidence. And in that process, physical protection is just another tool. But if the pain persists, it will be his body itself that dictates how far he can go during this clay court swing. The presence of the bandage on Carlos Alcaraz's leg has triggered alarm bells, but it can also be interpreted as a preventive measure during a delicate stage of the calendar. Rome is important, yes, but the real goal is Roland Garros. Alcaraz knows it, his team knows it, and every decision these days is part of a larger strategy, to arrive in Paris at 100%, where the clay court throne awaits a new king. In the meantime, the match against Dusan Lajovic will be the perfect litmus test to determine whether that bandage is just a minor detail, or a sign that there's still cause for concern. Rivals? Yes. Admiration? That too. Carlos Alcaraz has surprised many with a direct and friendly message to Jannik Sinner just before his debut at the Rome Masters 1000. The Mercian, fully recovered from his injury, not only wants to return to top-level competition, but also dreams of facing off in what's shaping up to be the most anticipated final of the tournament. Are we witnessing the new classic of modern tennis? In the pre-match press conference ahead of his Rome debut, Carlos Alcaraz made it clear he's coming in with enthusiasm, confidence, and a strong message. I'm happy Jannik is back. There's no better place for him to return than here in Rome. A statement that confirms the mutual respect between two of the greatest rising, and already established, stars in world tennis. Both have shared intense moments in past matches, and with Sinner ranked number 1 and Alcaraz number 3, fate seems to want them to clash again, but this time with even more at stake. The Mercian, who missed the Mutua Madrid Open due to a right adductor injury, has worked intensely to arrive in top form for this clay court swing. Rome is one of the titles missing from his record, and what better way to conquer the Italian capital than by facing the current tour leader, freshly back after serving a 3-month suspension. For Alcaraz, it's not just about winning, it's about winning against the best. And he made that clear: it's good that he's back, for him, for me, and for tennis. So far this season, both have shined at different moments. Sinner won the Australian Open and led the ATP until his suspension temporarily sidelined him. Alcaraz, for his part, triumphed in Monte Carlo, proving his elite level remains intact. Respect doesn't hide competitiveness. I hope to see him in the final, Alcaraz concluded, with a smile that blended admiration and challenge. A potential showdown between Sinner and Alcaraz in the Rome final isn't just a fan fantasy, it's a real possibility, and for many, the clash tennis needs. Two different styles, two extraordinary talents, and two personalities who represent the natural successor to the big three. Alcaraz, with his charisma, aggression, and variety. Sinner, with his precision, consistency, and cool mentality. Both, at just 22 years old, have already become leaders of the tour. The fact that Alcaraz names Sinner as a desired final opponent is also a sign of sporting maturity. Many avoid speaking about finals before playing the first match, but Carlitos knows that if he wants to define an era, he has to do so by facing the best, not avoiding them. And what's best is that there are no grudges or controversies. There's rivalry, yes, but also camaraderie. A combination that could usher in a new golden era for tennis. For now, each must walk their own path in the tournament. Alcaraz will debut against a lucky loser after Jan-Lennard Struff's withdrawal, while Sinner also faces a tough draw. If both deliver, the Rome final could become an epic clash, not just for what it means in terms of ranking, but for what it symbolizes: the battle between two young stars expected to dominate world tennis for the next decade. Carlos Alcaraz arrives in Rome with a clear goal: to win the title and regain momentum after injury. But he also has his sights set on Jannik Sinner, his generational rival, possible final adversary, and above all, his greatest competitive motivation. With respectful declarations, Alcaraz not only acknowledges the Italian's value but makes it clear that the best tennis happens when the best face off. If both reach Sunday, Rome will witness a historic final. Carlitos is back. Carlos Alcaraz returns to the court this Friday at the Rome Masters 1000 after missing Madrid due to injury. The Mercian has an important date in the Italian capital, where he begins his journey toward what could be one of the most special titles of his career. Is he ready to dominate clay again? The wait is over. Carlos Alcaraz will compete again this Friday at the Rome Masters 1000, in a second-round match against Serbian Dusan Lajovic. The match will be held at the majestic Campo Central at the Foro Italico, no earlier than 1 p.m., marking his first appearance since the adductor injury suffered in the final of the Conde de Godó. That injury forced him to skip the Mutua Madrid Open, lighting up alarms at the start of the European clay swing. However, the player from El Palmar has shown good signs during training in Rome, and barring any last-minute setbacks during physical tests, he will be fully ready for his debut. The opponent is not new. Dusan Lajovic, a 33-year-old Serbian and former world number 23, now ranked 131, has been beaten by Alcaraz in all four of their previous encounters. Even so, Lajovic comes in with match rhythm after progressing through the tournament's qualifying rounds, which could make him a tricky opponent. The clash is part of a stellar lineup at Campo Central, right after the match between Arna Sabalenka and Anastasia Potapova. The atmosphere will be ideal for Alcaraz to reconnect with the tour and begin finding the rhythm he'll need if he wants to arrive in top shape for Roland Garros. Rome is a strategic stop on his calendar, but also unfinished business. In 2023, he only won one match before being surprised by Hungarian player Marozsan. In 2024, Alcaraz's clear goal is to improve his record at the Foro Italico and, why not, lift a trophy still missing from his cabinet. The Rome Masters 1000 is one of the few major titles he hasn't won, and his return after injury is a key moment to assess his physical state heading into his main goal of the season, Roland Garros. To get there, he'll have to take it round by round and regain the sensations that made him one of the most feared players on clay. In his comeback, Alcaraz is not only chasing victories, but also confidence, consistency, and time on court. He knows the path to success in Paris starts here, and every match is a chance to get into form. Along the way, he could face strong opponents, but it all begins this Friday against a familiar foe who has served as a good gauge in the past. Rome's Central Court, one of the most iconic on the tour, will witness another conquest attempt by the Spaniard. At just 22 years old, Alcaraz continues gaining experience and knows that every tournament is a new chance to leave his mark. Rome hasn't been his most fruitful ground so far, but that also means everything is yet to be written. The match against Lajovic isn't just the start of a tournament, but also the definitive test that his injury is behind him. Carlos Alcaraz is back. And although Rome remains an unknown in his career, he arrives hungry, with his enthusiasm intact, and ready to show his best self on clay. His first step will be against Dusan Lajovic, a well-known rival against whom he starts as the favorite. The Mercian's return excites his fans, and also marks the beginning of a crucial stretch of the season. Roland Garros is drawing closer, but everything starts this Friday in the Italian capital. Carlos Alcaraz, one of the brightest prospects in world tennis, is not only making headlines on court, but also off it. While his documentary My Way continues to spark all kinds of reactions by showing his more human, and party-loving, side, a new controversy is now erupting in his inner circle. His first coaches are publicly at odds. Is the spotless image of the young Mercian beginning to crack? Is this the price of fame, or something deeper? The release of Carlos Alcaraz's Netflix documentary has been a direct window into his life beyond the court. The Mercian appears approachable, cheerful, and with a clear philosophy. He wants to be the best, but also enjoy life. Many have praised this for its authenticity, but others, particularly from more traditional sports circles, have criticized it. However, while the debate over his lifestyle continues, a more unexpected dispute has erupted in his closest circle, a conflict between those who witnessed his earliest steps in tennis. Carlos Santos, one of his first coaches, has published a book recounting Alcaraz's early days in the sport. In it, he mentions Kiko Navarro, another key figure in Carlitos' development, and suggests that his inclusion in the coaching team was not due to sporting merits, but because he helped secure sponsorship. These claims were not well received by Navarro, who responded harshly, accusing Santos of distorting the facts and using the book as a platform to sell at the expense of controversy. According to Navarro, he joined Alcaraz's team at the request of the player's father and with the sole intention of helping. His connection with Postres Reina, a company that would later become a sponsor for Carlitos, was what opened some doors, but he insists that wasn't the reason for his coaching role. What hurt Navarro most was the silent betrayal by Santos, who wrote negatively about him while they were still sharing the court, he claims. This kind of conflict is not new in professional sports. When a figure like Alcaraz reaches global fame, everything around them becomes magnified. What's surprising is that this dispute doesn't stem from current issues, but from the past. It's not about coaching decisions or recent strategy, it's about egos, recognition, and a shared history that has